Good evening, everybody. Tonight on Beyond the Words, we're going to be talking about what to do
when life happens.
So let's get to it. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Words. I'm Lon.
I'm Lisa.
And this is Rufus the Doofus. And this is a show where we talk about faith, family, and relationships and give you some practical things to do to help strengthen those things. And we talk about Rufus.
Mostly
We talk about Rufus, and there might even be some dog wrestling tonight.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there will be.
I'm pretty sure there will be. So tonight we're going to be talking about what to do when life just happens, and I have to give some credit to Davina, one of our friends that we go to church with. This week has been really, really busy.
And crazy, yeah.
And crazy. As, we seem to say that every week. Anyway, but yeah, it's been really busy, and it was especially busy, though, this weekend, because I got home, Friday night? Yeah, I pulled in, I walked in the door, and I was thinking to myself, ding, it is really, really hot in this house. And so I went over, I looked at the thermostat, and the thermostat was set to 74, but it was not 74 degrees in the house.
It was like 1 million degrees.
It was like 1 million degrees. No, it was more like 80 degrees or something like that. And so anyway, yeah, so we've had that to figure out. And then, of course, my Saturday was already booked. I had an appointment Saturday morning. I had another appointment Saturday at noon with a friend of mine who needed some help with their church sound system. That should have taken maybe about an hour. It ended up taking like 4 hours. So the entire afternoon was kind of gone after I got done there. And so when I finally got home, we FaceTimed my dad.
Yeah.
The other Lonnie. I'm the fourth Lonnie, by the way. My dad is the third. And dear old dad has a lot of years of experience in HVAC and commercial refrigeration. He was a professor at a technical college and taught refrigeration and that sort of thing. So he's my first guy that I go to. I know a lot myself, but Dad has all of the experience. And so, we walked through the things. I had some suspicions about what it might be, what the problem might be. And so we just started together through FaceTime. We went through and started troubleshooting and figuring out. And it ended up being that somebody had left, a previous technician from even before we had the house, had left a little bracket inside the electrical box. And of course, every time the AC unit would cut on, the condenser coil would cut on, and the vibration of the unit would move it just around just a little bit, and it finally moved to a place where it came into contact with some electrical contacts, 220 volts, and it sparked all over the place, and yeah, it was very, very exciting.
Yeah.
So, what's the moral of the story? Do not leave spare parts in energized electrical boxes.
Yeah.
Get them out, because they're not safe. Okay, Rufus, you're on my mouse. We have dogs, we have mice, whatever.
Don't say that, I will leave.
Anyway, we are so glad that you're here tonight, and we would love to connect with you.
And it looks like life happened to Drew and Rita.
Oh, yeah.
Blow.
They had a tire blow. They're on the road.
Be careful.
So, yeah, we can talk about that later, because, that works right into our message. So anyway, getting back to giving credit to Davina, I walked in the church this morning and I was like, man, Lisa and I were going to get together. We were going to talk about, figuring out what we're going to talk about on tonight's broadcast, and because life just happened, we didn't have that time to really prepare and everything. And so she said, well, why don't you do a show about what to do when life just happens? What a great idea! So thanks, Davina. Yes, but we would love to connect with you, and you can do that a couple of different ways. First and foremost, you can email us. You can email us at lonandlisa@gobeyondthewords.com. That's lonandlisa@gobeyondthewords.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you've got ideas, maybe topics that you'd like for us to talk about, we'd love to do that. We'd also love to hear some of your own experiences, with the things that we talk about. Of course, we share a lot of our own life stories here on the show, and we'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to see what you all are going through life and things. So send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. And then, of course, you can always post a comment or question down below in the comment section. When you do that on the live stream, we'll see it here on the screen. I can see Drew and Rita are oh my gosh.
Oh no. We do have another dryer. You can come and get it.
Oh yeah. Okay. So we'll put that on in a minute. But so life just happens. Mm-hmm. So excuse me. You can put your comments and questions down in the comment section below, and also in the chat box if you're watching us via YouTube. You can do that as well. See, the
dog wrestling has begun.
Dog wrestling has begun. Davina, by the way, says that this is really
the only reason she
this
watches.
is really the only reason she watches is to see this dog wrestling.
How well he's going to behave.
Yeah, and he doesn't behave at all. Okay, Rufus. All right. So, without any further ado, let's jump into our discussion today. Actually, what we're going to do is we have a video. Yay! We do have a video. So a couple of weeks ago, we went to the zoo, and just for a couple of hours, and this is that zoo trip.
This is what happened.
This is what had happened. Enjoy.
So today we're going to the Columbus Zoo because Lisa has free tickets. Let's go check it out.
We're here at the zoo.
Not even at Disney World.
There's nothing like the vampire bat. Straight from the DC universe.
You should get in there with them. Wonder how much luggage you can fit in their trunk. Or how much junk do they have in their trunk? I'll be here all day.
Whoa, there's a tiger. Let's go poke it with a stick. I don't trust him. I don't trust him at all. Yes, it rains down in... wrong continent. I did that on purpose. Look.
He's escaped.
Oh, go get out.
You missed it. He's a big loser. Nope.
That was close.
I want to
Last chance sale. Look, you can get a monkey. A monkey for $5 hairs or less. So what did you think?
Didn't see very many animals.
They left us like that.
And so that's our little video, another adventure of Lon and Lisa. And that was fun.
It was fun.
Yes, yes. We've been to the zoo several times. We live, what, about 20, 30 minutes away from the zoo. So we go there every once in a while. And so it was fun.
We didn't get to see Jack Hanna, though. Disappointing.
Yeah, we were disappointed.
Yeah.
You didn't see Jack Hanna.
Yeah.
But you got to see your monkeys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We were only there for a couple of hours, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of things we didn't see.
Right.
But
Maybe Jack Hanna was looking for us.
It's possible.
He was probably disappointed. He's like, I didn't get to see Lon and Lisa.
It's possible. Very possible. So.
So if Jack Hanna's watching, I'm sorry you didn't get to see us.
Right.
He probably is watching. Like 83% sure he's watching.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, okay. So today's topic, as we have said so many times before, it's just a cut up, I'm telling you, is what to do when life happens.
Run.
Run for your life! Yes.
Or play dead.
Or you could play dead?
Yes.
Is that what you do?
One of two options. Run or play dead.
Curl up in the fetal position?
Yes.
Or do you act out a slow death?
Yes. Light fading.
I'm dying. I'm dying.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what you do when life happens.
Enough of this nonsense. Let's get to our topic. Obviously, life just happens, and it's just a fact of life. You can.
That's why they call it life.
That's why they call it life.
Because life
Duh.
happens.
Well,
These are the facts.
I mean, even when you're courting and you're dating and stuff like that, you tend to put on your best face and you tend to go, do things to try and make sure that you're at your best.
Put your best foot forward.
Your best foot forward.
Yeah.
And even when things kind of go awry, you kind of try to hide those things, or maybe not be as transparent about those things. Some people do anyway. And but then when you get married and things just happen, and you need to have the skills necessary to actually get through them, and that's what we're going to talk about. Life, what to do with life when life just happens. I feel like I'm just talking over and over and over and over again.
You are.
Okay, so
This guy.
First off, let's talk about empathy and sympathy. Empathy versus sympathy.
If they were in a fight, who would win?
Well, I don't know.
Just kidding.
They're both related. They're both important. They're both important, and they're both related. And so I figured we would start our conversation by talking about empathy and sympathy, because they're integral, big word, integral to, being successful at getting through those difficult times, those challenges.
So let's define those words. Do you have definitions?
I do.
I wish you had definitions for those words.
I just so happen to have a definition. Empathy. Here we go. Can you say that phonetically?
I don't even know what that means.
Empathy. Make it sound like a computer. Empathy is the action of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive to, and vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experience of another, without having the feeling, thoughts, and experiences fully communicated in an explicit manner. What does that mean? I have no idea. And apparently I smell like dog food. We are off the rails tonight. Empathy. So empathy is...
Why do you smell like dog food?
You told me I smelled like...
I want to know why.
I don't know. You told me I smelled like dog food.
He was rolling in dog food earlier.
So empathy. Let's
And
get
I
back
have
on...
empathy.
Get back on topic. On topic.
I have empathy.
Yes.
I don't have sympathy because I've never smelled like dog food, but I have empathy. I feel bad for you for smelling like dog food.
Yes. Empathy is basically being sensitive to... I like what it said, vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experiences of another without actually having those.
Exactly.
So it's really being able to put your feet into another person's dirty shoes,
I would never put my feet in your shoes.
so to speak. Quote in air quotes. So now let's talk about sympathy. Let's see what the difference is with regards to sympathy. Not that button, but that button. Sympathy, the act or capacity of entering into or sharing the feelings or interests of another. You move closer.
I like you.
So sympathy, very similar to empathy.
Right.
But it's just on a lesser, like we use sympathy more like, I feel sorry for you. Like if you, maybe had a loss of a loved one, you're sympathetic with someone. You want to speak to that? You tell me not to tell.
I think you can feel sympathy if you have had that feeling.
Yes.
And empathy is if you've never had that feeling, but you know someone is hurting, so you're empathetic.
Right. And, what?
Where's Rufus? Rufus had to go on a trip.
Rufus had to go on a trip.
Rufus was being terrible, so he's upstairs with Ryan.
Okay, so save those.
I know.
Until later.
Sorry, I just glanced down and saw where's Rufus, and I was like, uh-oh,
So we
got busted.
So we can stay a little
Yes.
bit more on topic. Okay, so anyway, sympathy versus empathy, they're very related.
Right.
They're almost similar. They're similar in most respects.
Right.
But I would say empathetic is kind of more going to being able to actually walk in the other person's shoes, feeling and experiencing those experiences without actually having, gone through those things. You feel for them. You're compassionate towards them, right?
Yes.
Compassionate?
Yes.
Which actually leads me to my next slide. Not that one, but that one. Compassion, which is also similar to, in some respects, sympathetic consciousness of others' distress with a desire to alleviate it. That's pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. And we talk a lot, especially in the church, we talk a lot about having compassion for people outside of the church, for people who are hungry,
Right.
Third world countries, people who are just going through difficult times. I mean, we're required as Christians to have compassion,
Right.
For others.
That's, I never thought of the end of that with a desire to alleviate it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you always think when I have compassion for someone, it's just that feeling, but not the desire to alleviate it. I like that.
Yeah. Would you say that if you don't necessarily have the desire to alleviate it, that it's more like sympathy?
Yeah.
Or empathy?
Right.
With compassion, so compassion is really kind of taking that extra step and
next
going,
level,
hey,
yeah.
I want to do something
Right.
about it.
Right.
So, yeah, that makes That makes
I like
a
that.
lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Learning with Lon and Lisa. It's education.
Okay, so yeah, so we talked a little bit about that. Let's see, where are we? Empathy. So empathy versus sympathy. We talked about that and we defined them. And so let's talk a little bit about this, because when you go through difficulties, very often we're irritable, we're crabby. You call me crabby all the time. I'm crabby all the time, whatever.
He's always crabby.
So there's a change in behavior, and it's more or less, you're irritable. You might unnecessarily snap at somebody, and we're not saying that one of those things are right or wrong. We're just saying these are the things that kind of happen. Mm-hmm. Is that you kind of get upset maybe at small things. And especially if somebody snaps and starts yelling or arguing just out of the clear blue, it's usually an indication that there's something going on at that deeper level, and you just don't know what it is.
Right.
Which leads us to this concept here, the context of behavior.
Right.
So when you see somebody acting abnormally,
Right.
And have that irritable behavior or whatever. Mm-hmm. You have to understand, try not to react, but respond. So reaction is kind of the knee-jerk kind of thing. Responding is actually understanding what's going on and processing it, and then very cognitively, having a response.
You look like you're doing karate when you're explaining that.
Well, I was just watching Cobra Kai. And I was going to do the crane, the crane kick and the wax on and wax off. It's really, really important to understand the context of the behavior. Mm-hmm. In other words, you need to know the story.
Right.
When was I irritable yesterday?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Well,
I'll talk about it. I know I was irritable.
But and he is not always crabby. That's kind of a joke that we have.
Yeah.
But he's not. He is very even-tempered. But when something needs to get done, you are very, let's get this done. And you had very limited time, very limited light. And so he came home and he was like, we need to get this done. And this and this. And so you were a little bit crabby, and so I called you out on it.
Snippy.
Kind of
Snippy, short.
Yeah.
There was a temperament.
Yes.
A temperament, which you have to be. What are you laughing at? What are you thinking? Yeah.
There's a temperament.
There was definitely a temperament. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because when I came home, I was number one. I was frustrated because
it took 4 hours.
It took 4 hours instead of one.
Right.
And I mean, that's nobody's fault. We were just trying to fix an issue. Right. It was unplanned, but like I had very limited time to begin with.
Right.
And so then that, coupled with the knowledge that so there were several things kind of going on. Okay,
right.
One is obviously I'm tired. I didn't sleep very well the night before because it was hot in the house. So I was tired of that. I was hungry because I hadn't eaten. I was hangry, and so I was thinking to myself, number one, if I have to replace the air conditioning unit, that's going to cost a lot of money. The boys and I are getting ready to go on a trip, and in about 5 days or 6 days, and so I'm thinking through, well, who am I going to call to come out, and when am I going to find time to meet a guy out here and have him evaluate the system and come up with a quote, and then the installation and all of that stuff. I mean, that's a lot of work. with not a very much amount of time, and I didn't want to go on this trip and leave Hugh with no air conditioning.
Right.
That would be ridiculous.
That's what hotels are for, babe.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, so there's a lot of things kind of going on, but the point that I'm trying to drive at is that it was important for you to kind of know the whole scope of what's going on. Now, had I acted inappropriately, had I I don't know, bit your head off or something, that would have been inappropriate.
Yeah.
But tension like that is bound to happen in marriage. It's just going to happen because you're going to have, life is just going to happen.
Yeah.
The car's going to break down. You're going to be tight on budget and tight on funds every once in a while. Maybe more than a once in a while, maybe quite often. And then especially when you throw in kids and things like that. So, yeah.
You should never throw your kids.
No, not throw the kids.
You said throw them in. Don't throw them.
When you... Okay. I see what you did there. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, it's in other words, it's really, really important to understand the context of the behavior, knowing the entire story. Now, if you find that somebody is abnormally crabby all the time, and you can't figure out why, then there's a deeper issue, and that's something that you need to kind of explore together to figure out what's going on. So, what are some real life things that people in general have to deal with? One, I guess, is simply just illness, right? You've been sick. I've been sick. We get ill, and of course, when you're under the weather, you don't.
Do you want to show your definition there?
Of hangry?
Yes.
Okay, well, just to give a little context, when we were discussing all the different things that could make a person irritable or whatever, I threw out this idea that sometimes there is really a biological issue, so yeah, it's I keep pressing the wrong button. Hangry. It actually is a word, and it's in the dictionary, and I don't know if it's Urban Dictionary or whatever, but bad.
It's in my dictionary.
It's definitely in Lisa's dictionary. Bad-tempered or irritable as a result of hunger, and Lisa knows about hangry a lot. Ooh, I just told on you.
But I have low blood sugar, so...
Yes. And to that, and that's exactly my point, is that there is very, very sound biological reasons that somebody could be hangry or irritable. If your blood sugar is really, really low, that affects you. So keep that in mind as well. But getting back to our slide, illness. So yeah, when you're sick, you're under the weather, you don't feel good, you feel like...
Don't feel well.
You don't feel well, pardon my...
Improper grammar.
Improper grammar. When you don't feel well...
Sometimes he feels evil, and he's not feeling good.
Well, sometimes I do feel wicked. Did you see what I did there? Yeah, okay. When you're under the weather, you kind of, again, you get to that place where you just don't care because you don't feel like, putting on this facade, this face or whatever, you just are under the weather. You just don't feel well.
Yeah.
So that can be an issue. And that's, again, part of that context, learning the context of being irritable. So that can happen.
Never happens to me.
It never happens to you.
Sometimes it happens to him.
Yes, absolutely. What are some other things? Day-to-day challenges. you schedule an appointment, and the appointment falls through. You schedule an appointment, and for some reason something happens, and you end up late. What?
I'm never late.
You're never late. And I'm right on time too. I'm always
You're
at that
always
one
right on
intersection.
time. Oh,
That one intersection. It doesn't matter what time we.
7:22.
So inside story. We carpool. She works about 10 minutes away from where I work, in the same direction and everything. So we carpool several times a week, and it doesn't really matter what, like if you're opening at your place of business, there's this one intersection, and it doesn't matter what time we leave, we usually end up at that same intersection right at 7:22.
There's some kind of wormhole or something.
Whoop. Yeah. So
Yeah.
day-to-day challenges just happen. Try not to get too bent out of shape.
Yeah.
Take it with a grain of salt. Things
Yeah.
happen. And especially don't take it out on your spouse.
And communicate.
Yes, absolutely. Communicate. Yeah, it goes back to communication, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So,
And take your time with each other. If one of you needs to talk, if one of you needs time to decompress, if one of you doesn't want to talk, make sure you're communicating about that.
right. Yeah. And we've talked about this a little bit before, because sometimes when you get into that place, sometimes you just need time to process before you're ready to talk about things. And so
Right.
sometimes it's good to just communicate, hey, it's not you, we're okay.
It's you.
Or it is you, we're okay, but we need to talk, but let me process first. And so be willing to communicate.
Yeah.
and be
Yeah.
open about it, right? My nose itches because it's
Mine too.
it's allergy season.
Yes.
And my allergies have been going nuts.
Yeah.
Extraordinary challenges. Extraordinary. Or is it
Extraordinary.
extraordinary challenges?
Fantastic ones.
Yes, those are the biggies. Those are like, I would say, almost like life changes.
Right.
And
sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad. We were
Right.
talking about that.
they can be good or bad. Things like buying a house,
Right.
or moving.
That's a little bit stressful.
That is stressful. Because not only you're trying to live life, I mean, you're trying
Right.
to continue to go to
You
work,
still have
and
your daily challenges.
you got your daily challenges and stuff, but you're also trying to do this massive
Right.
thing.
And never buy a dog, get him neutered, and try and buy a house at the same time.
True story.
Because he's going to eat his cone, the cone of shame.
Oh my gosh, the cone of shame. Yes,
my
absolutely.
goodness. Yeah, he's going to be tearing that apart. You're going to be trying to keep him alive and move.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, not fun. Not
So,
fun.
so yeah, be aware of those extraordinary challenges. There's and I have to look it up because I don't remember where the saying came from, but there's a saying that, like, you shouldn't do more than it, like 2 big life changes all at once. Like try not to do more than just one big life change, like moving and having a baby, or getting married and moving, or whatever, changing jobs and moving, or doing something like. Seems like it's always about moving.
I think we did about 5 at once. Yeah.
That's usually not a good thing. Try to space those things out. Budget
Sometimes you can't.
your time, and sometimes you can't. That's again, life just happens,
Right.
and you just got to deal with it. You just got to roll with it. So that's another thing. What are some other things? This is a big one. Loss of a loved one.
Right.
That's a hard one.
It is.
The last person a relative that I lost that I was really close to was my grandmother. Well, let's see. There's my grandmother on my mom's side, and then there's my grandmother on my dad's side. But I was my grandmother on my dad's side. She died when I was in high school. I was a senior, I think, in high school, and so and we lived in the same town. We worked together. We were over there all the time, and so that was pretty hard on me. My other grandmother, there had been some time of me being away, like in my adult life, and she didn't die until later in my adult life. So I wasn't quite as, we still had the issue of grief and everything, but it was a little less traumatic for me just because of the separation and stuff. But you've lost people, and it's just a difficult thing.
It is.
It's a very difficult thing. So be mindful of that, and that is, I think, a time when you especially need that the ability to empathize and sympathize with the person going through. Like in times like that, like if your spouse loses a loved one, loses maybe a mom or a dad or whatever, maybe the other spouse takes on a little bit more responsibility, to kind of give the other person some grace and some mercy, and
Absolutely.
just to help give them time. And it's really important to be aware of those things, to be aware of the other person's, your spouse's needs.
Right.
Really is, I think, what it comes down to, right? Yeah. So that can be another one.
And make sure that they have everything they need. Make sure that they're doing okay. If you feel like they're not doing okay, make sure that you get them the help that they need, because there might be a time that, especially if it's a parent or a child.
Oh yeah, gosh, I can't imagine losing losing one of my kids.
So if you don't feel like they're doing okay, maybe get them the help that they need.
Yeah,
so that's something you need to be very cognizant of.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, and like, I know sometimes you might make the suggestion, hey, maybe we should go see a counselor or something.
Right.
I know some people might take offense to that, but there's no shame in doing that. There's no shame in talking. Even if you just go to talk to, there's no shame in finding a counselor or a pastor, somebody to talk to. But I just, like, when you deal with that kind of grief or whatever, sometimes you can suggest that, and sometimes you get a little pushback from that.
Right.
But so just be gentle with the issue. Don't force it, but also it's not a good idea to just turn your head and ignore it either. Right. So keep that in mind.
And ask the hard questions. Ask if, are you okay? Do you want to talk to someone? Do you want to talk to a counselor? Do you want to talk to a pastor?
Yeah, that's good.
Make sure, there's an open line of communication. Asking
questions really takes the edge off of, like if you approach somebody and say, you need to go see a counselor.
Yeah. They're going to say no.
That's abrasive. Right. But you say, hey, I see you're really struggling. Right. Do you think maybe we could see a counselor, or do you think that would help if you. So there's a way of kind of very gently proposing it.
Exactly.
So,
and don't say, "Are you okay?" Because, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
You're always going to get a yes, because no one's going to just say, "No, I'm not okay." But if you say, do you feel like, you start drawing that person out. Don't just say, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, well, and to that end, usually you're going to have someone who's a little bit closer, with that person. In other words, you have to have some relationship
Right.
with them. I mean, it's
Right.
it's one thing when you don't know somebody and you go, hey, are you okay? And that happens like at work sometimes. I run into people that seem to be having a little bit difficult day or whatever, and I
Right.
just, hey man, you doing okay today? And usually I get that, and then go, well, yeah, I'm okay, and then sometimes you can just start some discussion, like,
Right.
hey, how was your week? What'd you do over the weekend? And sometimes they'll begin to open up like that. They'll start talking about things, and once they start opening up, then you kind of have a little bit better understanding of context.
Right.
We
Right.
talked about before, knowing the context. So yeah, that's something else. Here's another challenge that when life happens, extended family challenges. You have aging parents, and you're having to care for them maybe. In their old age, and trying to find like if you're trying to find a home for them, or if you're going to take in your mom or dad and have them live with you, whatever that case is. I mean, those
Right.
can be some very stressful
Right.
times as well.
Right.
Yeah, so it's very, very important to kind of keep those things in mind and keep them manageable, right?
Right.
So, what are some things that can practically help people get through some of those things? What are some things that you think? I have an idea.
Okay, what's your idea?
What's my idea? Be more empathetic
Be more sympathetic.
or sympathetic. Empathetic and sympathetic.
Yes.
Both work.
Keep the lines of communication open. I think we covered all that.
Yeah.
You just have to constant communication. I think that's the backbone of every relationship.
Right. And I would say too, it's important that the person, like for instance, let me give you an example. Yesterday, after we fixed the air conditioner, we went through that, and there were some moments, some tense moments, frustrating moments. But when we got through it and we came out of the other side, you and I both were able to sit down and relax. And sometimes it's important to realize, like the person being irritable, it's important, that would be me, to be able to realize and express that, hey, I recognize that I was irritable, and be able to apologize and ask for forgiveness. And
And then what did I say?
What did you say?
I'll never forgive you.
Yes, that's exactly what you said. Please forgive me.
I'll never forgive you.
But you did.
I did.
Yes. Which leads us to another one. Be more compassionate. You do that a lot. Like when you see that I'm stressed out, or if I got something, some life thing happens,
Yeah.
you're quick to jump in and say, hey, what can I do? What can I do to help? To alleviate the issue. Is there anything I can do? And then either there is or there isn't. If you're sick, then
I say, suck it up, Buttercup.
that's exactly what you say. Build a bridge, get over it.
That's what your dad said.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so you can be more compassionate towards your spouse or loved one. And then finally, and of course there's a lot of other things that you can do. These are
Right.
just a few items that we thought were mentionable. More grace and more mercy. Share more grace and more mercy.
Right.
Grace covers a lot.
A multitude of sins.
A multitude of sins, yes, is what the scripture says. And essentially when we go through those things, because, like, I didn't mean to be snippy. Was I snippy?
You're snippy.
I didn't mean to be snippy. I didn't mean to do, like to be irritable or whatever, or to come off that way, or to hurt your feelings or anything like that.
As I was weeping, it was horrible.
Yes.
The worst day of my life.
But you showed more grace and mercy because you knew the context of what was going on, and you were able to to go through it with it. And of course at the end, after everything was said and done, we sat on the couch and watched a little TV and snuggled up. Right? And all was good.
And I said, I'm never going to forgive you.
And she said, I'm never going to forgive you. But then I begged and pleaded, and she forgave me. So
you gave me food. You gave me Cheetos.
So because you were getting hangry. I'm just kidding. So that is essentially our little chat for tonight. We hope you guys got something out of it. We hope it wasn't just an hour long of
babble,
rambling. So let's do this. Let's go through. We've got our iPad here. Let's go through and pick out some things. Let's see. Yeah. These are some comments and questions that you guys have said. Nana and Pop Youngberg.
Rita.
That's Drew and Rita. That's our friends Drew and Rita. Says sympathize is feeling for them. Empathize, you feel with them. Yeah. That's exactly right. That's pretty much it. Absolutely. And then of course to go the next step would be the compassion part, which is really to try and alleviate.
Right.
Yes. Nana Pop. I'm sure
I feel
Lisa...
compassion.
Yes.
I want to alleviate it also.
Yes. Empathize. Yes, she definitely empathizes with the hangry. People who are hangry. Davina writes, when you're dealing with a chronically ill person, it's very easy to get stressed and just so wiped out, and you can't be around people. Did it cut off?
Let me see if that's the
Sometimes we have to make a choice to walk away and spend time alone with the Lord. Okay, yes, that was it was broken up into two comments. So yes, so absolutely, and Davina, we know you from church, and we know that the thing with your husband is been going on for quite some time, and man, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Because
it's never happened to me. I can sympathize and empathize with you. But I couldn't imagine having to go through that.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Spending some time with the Lord always makes things better. And even though you might think that there's no end in sight or whatever, the Lord has a way of sending this peace that passes all understanding. Absolutely. You don't understand it, but you can rest in this fact that God has you in His hands, and that whatever happens is for His glory, and He will take care of you and that situation. Yeah.
And
so Drew says ice cream. Yes, ice cream always does the trick.
Yeah. Yeah, we know for Rita, that's her
that's her go-to for
that's how you get Rita's forgiveness.
Yes. So that's pretty much all of our comments there and sections. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Well, we're a little bit short today, about 10 minutes short.
Yeah.
We hope it wasn't a whole lot of babbling. Again, we'd like to invite you to contact us. I'll put the email on the screen again. You can, again, email us at lonandlisa@gobeyondthewords.com. We'd love to hear from you and find out what kind of the real life situations you guys have been through and all of that. Anything else you want to talk about?
I forgive you.
You forgive me? Aw. I don't forgive Rufus.
No, because he bit me.
No. He bit you?
Not hard. He was just chewing on my hand.
He was just gnawing on your hand. Yes, absolutely. Again, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight and for listening in. We just want to ask that you would, if you like this video, click the like button and share this with all your friends, family, maybe some folks that maybe need to hear what we're talking about.
All your hangry friends.
All your hangry friends. Share this with all your hangry friends. And if you're watching us from YouTube, please click subscribe. Or if you're watching us from Facebook, head over to our YouTube channel and click the subscribe button. That'll help us get better rankings and get the message out, to the masses, right? To the masses. So we will leave you again.
Don't whack me in the head.
I wasn't going to whack you in the head. As usual, may tomorrow be a perfect day. May you find love and laughter along the way. May God keep you in His tender care. Oh, till He brings us together again. Good night, everybody.